Hello again, Lockpicking Paul here, and this is a video on the making of the saw rake. This is a rake I tested on the Rake 2 for Stew, or what turned into Rake a Few for Stew. But back then it didn't have a handle. I was testing the new profile, which is a drop nose progressive rake. It proved to be pretty effective. And so I invested the time to make a handle and a stand for it. And this is the finished article. Now this video is about the making of this pick. And it's greatly chopped up and shortened. It's still quite a long video. I would have liked for it to have been shorter, but it basically end to end making a pick is about 6 hours. So even condensing it down, you end up with a reasonably long video. That said, I hope it'll be entertaining and interesting to see the process. And yeah, this is the finished item, but what went into it? Well, you're about to find out. See you soon. Right, so I've just got done polishing the saw rake after the rake fest we had with Raking a Few for Stew, and it's come back up to a nice shine. I've still got a bit more to do to sort of work on the metal, but it's super smooth. So what I thought we'd do is we'll go through the steps to complete the pick, and I thought I'd start by showing the wood. So these are the blanks I would normally use. These are spalted willow, and so I'll cut them into blocks like this, position them, get the pins all lined up, then sort of start shaving them down once they're all glued up. Before that, I'll show you where the wood comes from. This is a block of willow, and this was a tree in my garden, and it had a fungal infection. It's a very old tree, good 150 years old, and it killed it off. So I sectioned all of the wood, and we're wood fired at my house, so a lot of it heated the house, but anything that was interesting like this with really nice grain or some sort of fungal markings got kept and aged. This is about 7 years old now. It is bone dry, and it's nice to work with, and willow isn't the easiest wood in the world to work with. It's very fibrous. It's not got a ton of structural integrity, so it does need a full tang on the pick, but with the full tang it works really well. It's a very light wood, but it doesn't affect the pick in any way, and it looks really nice. I am going to try something a little bit different with this. I'm going to try and finish it to a much more glossy finish if I can. It's going to need a lot more wood finishing, but we'll see how we get on, because getting a shine on this stuff is pretty hard. So we'll get into this and we'll see what kind of progress we make. Right, so I just got done punching the pinning holes. Going to be 3mm brass rod, and one of the first mistakes I ever made was actually trying to drill this 301 high yield stainless. It's murder to try and drill this, even with very good drill bits. So this is the answer: sheet metal punch. I mean, they're not the easiest things in the world to use, but you do get very tidy results with them. So yeah, it's another happy step done. You're never sure unless the holes all line up, you've got it right. So now they line up, I'm good. I can continue on with the wood. Awesome. Back in a bit. So I am just putting on some Jeweler's Rouge to give it a final polish. Nearly there. This is it's a pretty good little machine. This came from Amazon, quite cheap, so I'm sure it probably wouldn't pass any safety standards. I mean, all the mechanics are open, the wiring's open, but it does a pretty neat job of light work that you perhaps don't want anything too heavy on. So yeah, it turns out pretty neat job on the polishing. So yeah, very pleased with that. Well, get the scales all fitted now. So back in a minute when I've got all those drilled and set up. So that's all drilled and offered up. I've now got to take these bits apart, rough all the edges up, all the insides, set some epoxy on it, and get it clamped, and it'll be there for 24 hours. Then what I'll do is when I get this out of the clamps, I'll then work. What I'm going to do is I'll film the whole working of the handle and the shaping of the handle. Hopefully I won't fluff it in the process of actually doing it. Okay, back when it's all set. Oh, look at it shine on that. That's fantastic. Right, back in a bit. Right, finally glued, clamped. Well, I'll see you in the morning, little pick. So we're now out of the vise. Everything is set and ready for the final shaping. What I'm going to do is I'm going to basically shape end to end on the linisher here, and I'm not going to say anything, and what I'll probably do is I'll speed it up greatly. And I'm also going to be wearing a mask, so I won't be able to say anything anyway. So yeah, we'll go through the entire process of shaping this in a speed view, and hopefully we'll be left with something that's really very pretty. Right, I'll just get set up, get my mask on, and we'll get started. Oh. Right, so that is the basic shaping done. There's a ton of finishing to do. So I'm going to stop this here. I'm going to change belts down to 400 grit. We'll get this shaped a bit more smoothly. And then we go down to flour, polish this, and then we'll wax and oil it. But coming along nicely, sits in the hand well. Actually works both ways up. That's quite good. Yeah, really pleased with that so far. Back in a bit. Right, so the sanding is pretty much done. Very smooth. The wood is nicer on one side than the other, sadly. Not so good this side. Maybe it'll come out more with the waxing. We'll see, but this side's definitely nicer. Oh well, it wasn't going anywhere anyway. But it was a good test platform for sort of improving some technique. I'm certainly happier with the polishing of the metal. A bit more needs to be done to sort of really bring out the best in the wood. We'll see how we do with the waxing. This I think is going to be the base. I've got to do some squaring up of this, but and a lot more sanding, but it's making progress. And then I've got to cut the channel. But I'm picking this piece because it's got this nice piece of heartwood here, which is largely unmarked, which means I can put the handle end down there, which will contrast nicely with the shiny metal in the spalting. So I'll just square this up and shape it, get this waxed. So a couple more hours yet before this will look good, but getting there. So very nearly finished. 2 coats of wax are on, and I've just got to let that harden and we can buff it up. Sadly, it doesn't come up quite as glossy as this once the wax is polished, but it smells great. It hopefully looks all right. I think this is going to be quite a nice item when it's finished. Right, so the next time you see this, it will actually be the beginning of a video showing the finished item, and then it'll end here. So this is the last segment. I hope you've enjoyed that. It's been a bit of a long journey to get to this point, although shorter for you because I've chopped bits out. But yeah, that's how I make my picks. Enjoy your picking. Cheers.